Okay, it says meeting is now live on Facebook, so let me just confirm that
Yes, I
here.
see us. I do. I'm on my phone and I can see it.
Okay, we made it
We
work.
did.
Oh my gosh. Okay, great. Excellent. And I know there'll be a little bit of a lag, but that's okay.
Yep, this is amazing.
So, it's pretty amazing what we can do with technology these days. Thank God. And as I was just mentioning, real quick, so welcome to Strong as a Mother. Today's guest is Andrea Mastrobattista. I'm Stacey Urick. And this morning was just like one of those things where I had a plan and the plan just did not go as I expected, which I think is probably the way that most people feel about life right now. So the
Mhm.
plan was to get up, have a cup of coffee, read the news, do yoga with a yoga studio that was testing their Zoom this morning. So I had a chance to participate on that. Halfway through that, my son was having a little bit of a nervous breakdown slash panic attack, just trying to get through schoolwork. So I had to finish that early, hopped in the shower, got this all going, and I had it all set up. And I went to go plug in my laptop and it completely unplugged everything from my other system. So I had to restart the whole thing again, which, when you're trying to go live can be nerve wracking, but I feel like right now everyone's giving themselves grace.
Mhm.
So I just hope that everybody was going to be willing to give me grace that we got on, a couple of minutes
Mhm.
later than anticipated.
I think
How are you doing over there?
I'm good. And I think you're absolutely right. I think people, we are giving each other grace in this, hurry up, hurry up society that we're living in. We're now having to slow down and everybody's having to slow down. So I think people are gaining a greater understanding of just give each other a freaking break.
We do need a freaking break. And I think that people are giving us grace. So I'm going to
Yeah.
bank on that.
Hmm.
For those people that didn't join last week, I'm just going to give just a quick housekeeping recap. So I've been over the last year building out some sort of mindset work. And, I've been doing a lot of different things. I've been going around speaking. I've been mulling around doing a podcast, and it wasn't until, we kind of all got stuck indoors and people started using Zoom more and started using things to be virtually connected that I had this idea of putting this series together. It was kind of um, sparked by Andrea actually reaching out to me 2 weekends ago saying, "Hey, do you want to go live and inspire some people?" And I was like, yes, and I want to take it 10 times further because that's just
Hmm.
the way my brain works. And so we decided to create this setup. And I wanted my first guest on the first two episodes to be Andrea because I think Andrea's perspective is one that everybody needs to hear right now. Organization called Heartworks. And Andrea, I joined Heartworks in 2012.
Hmm.
So we've probably known each other. I've definitely known about you since 2012. So that's 8 years.
Yeah.
But I don't think we really started getting close until maybe 2 years ago once you hit bed rest.
Right. I think well, we were um, messaging here and there, and we knew of each other, and we travel in some of the same circles. But you bought a hat from me, and I was
I
so
did.
grateful. And that's when we met in person. So I'm so happy
Yeah.
that what technology connects people. I was talking about that to people this morning. We are just really quick. Social media gets such a bad rap about how it has divided us, and now we are using social media for what it was really meant for. And I am starting to feel, thank God, more connected with people now than ever.
Isn't
So
that amazing?
yeah.
And I think you're right. It's interesting. As you know, I have it on top of the mindset work that I do. I have a network marketing business that I've been building over the last 4 years. And I've always approached social media from a very different perspective as most because I've been using social media to build a business and to deepen connections. And I've gone from, you know, a few hundred connections to multiple thousands of connections over the last 4 years. And people find that odd, but I'm a big reader of Brene Brown and Don Miguel Ruiz and a lot of these other thought leaders, where I know inherently connection is imperative to success in life. And I find that a lot of people don't like social media often because they themselves, the users, are finding themselves in a comparison struggle, because a lot of people use social media as a highlight reel. I've purposefully always used it as what I like to call the real reel. I never like to show my life as being anything other than the hot mess express that it is. And I don't ever want anybody comparing what they have going on to what my, we all have beautiful moments, but it's life, right? And so I have always loved social media because I have used beyond, because I have made some really unique, deep, meaningful connections with people that I've never met because of my business, that we have each other's back, that I could reach out today in California or Florida or Texas or Wyoming and check in, and we have a connection that I would have never had if it had not been for social media and if I had not used it in a strategic way for my business. It's been a huge benefit because I've met the most incredible people that I would have never met otherwise. And so I really hope that people will use social media now to make deeper, more meaningful connections versus play the comparison game. Because we need that more now than ever. We don't have to be socially distanced. We need to be physically distanced.
And I even realized that I wasn't, and I'm in the business, I wasn't even using social media to its full capacity. And boy, have I ramped it up now. It's amazing, because I was, as we talked about last week, you had asked me, this, I'm kind of used to physical distancing at this point. And I kind of corrected and said, well, it's different for me now, and even more frustrating because people can't visit. People were visiting before, so I really did. I was not ever really in a crowded room, but I had people visiting, so I had contact every single day, face to face. Now I don't, and it's actually even more frustrating than it was 2.5 years.
I can't imagine.
But just like everybody else.
And for those people that didn't catch us on.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
We've got a delay here, so that's okay. Just like everybody else, I'm adjusting to the new normal and it's given me purpose because I'm helping people do the same.
And that's such a good segue into why I had you as a guest. And, for people that didn't see the first episode, just a little backstory. Maybe you can share, Andrea, your story and why you've been medically mandated to bed rest. Since when? What was the date?
My diagnosis date was August 28th, 2017, the day after my father's birthday. And so I have spina bifida, and I've been using braces, crutches, and a wheelchair all my life. The wheelchair gets me around faster, so I really do that. And I got what they call a stage 4 pressure ulcer. They also call it a wound. I like to call it a wound. Because I, number one, was 50 pounds overweight. Number two, needed a better wheelchair cushion that I hadn't yet purchased. So again, completely on me, and went on bed rest. I've been on bed rest since then. I more recently have been getting up a little bit more, and it's starting to get out and about. Before we were coronicated, and now we're coronicated. And
that's a good word.
And so now I'm relying on social media more than ever, and I love it. So that's me.
So, not to go ahead.
No, I'm good.
So not to cover what we covered last week too much, but just so people understood, one of the reasons why it was important for me to have you on is because you have been forced into some sort of social distancing for the last 2.5 years. It wasn't as though people couldn't come to visit, because they could, but I'm sure that that was, you know, it was the minority of the time that you were spending. You were spending the majority of your time, not just quarantined, even though it wasn't a quarantine, it was medically mandated bed rest, but bed rest is the key word.
Right.
We're able to get up and about and move around in our homes, because having to be locked in and locked down. And I'm not saying that you've never complained, but one of the things that makes you so unique and so inspiring to so many people is your positive attitude and your desire to inspire others to have a positive attitude. No one would blame you for being pissed and depressed and angry and frustrated and be sitting in the suck more times than not, given the scenario. So the one thing I was hoping that you could share before I get into some of the questions that people have sent in is, how did you maintain a positive attitude during this time prior to everybody else getting into the same position you're in?
Okay, I'm so glad you asked me that question, because in what you just said, you triggered part of my answer. Humor, and humor. Because I tell people, when I was diagnosed for, I would say maybe starting in 2017, I had been thinking that my material for my Operation Inspiration workshops had been getting stale, and I was praying to the universe for new material. Well, be careful what you wish for, because I got it, just not as often happens cosmically. This is what the material that I got. So that is, in kind of in a nutshell, why I didn't go into why did this happen to me mode, because I knew almost immediately why this happened to me. And it was because I've always used my situation, my life situation, as the lesson. Robin Roberts, who I love, says, make your mess your message. And you said, you were talking about that at the beginning. You said, you and we are both the same way. We like soul sisters of the mind. We don't put all the pretty on Facebook. We put the good, bad, and the ugly. And actually, I don't know about you. That's a good question for you. I want to make this interactive. I've been criticized for it. Like, why would you, why would you put your mess out there? Because it's going to help people. That's what we're here to help and support people. And there have been, I mean, the criticizers have been few and far between, but so it kind of shocks me when it happens. But it's never stopped me from being honest about this, because I know it's going to help people. There are sometimes it's been more challenging than others, to be honest, because when I have a bad day at the doctor and the wound hasn't healed as much, I have to process it for a few days before sometimes I can do it immediately, but sometimes I have to kind of take it in and get through my sadness about it before I can go on Facebook. And that's not for anybody else but me to give myself my time to adjust. So it's an interesting balance. That's how I have my freak out moments. Sometimes I let Facebook see my freak out moments, and sometimes I do it privately. It's just a matter of what I know what works best for me.
And I think that what you just said is a direct correlation to how people feel. I think that, like, for example, I'm setting my expectation in my mind, and this has not been confirmed in any way, shape, or form, but I've just set the expectation in my mind that my children will not be going back to school this year.
Right.
That's just my way of prepping myself for a possible reality. We just received an email from our district earlier in the week that, they've pushed the go back date from next Monday till April 27th.
Right.
So they're extending it by at least a month. So we've gone from a 2-week to a 6-week time frame. And, I'm okay with it because I've already expected that they're not going back. But I know for a lot of people, when they get another piece of information that kind of rocks their norm, they go through what you go through. So it's like you go in with this expectation that you're going to have progressed in one way, and you find out that you've actually stepped back in another way. And I think that people right now, because they don't know what to expect, because they've never gone through this before, are probably going a little bit through what you're going through. They get one piece of information that's positive, then they get another piece of information that's more challenging to accept or upsets their norm, and then they need the time to process it. And sometimes you have your ups and downs. And I know even myself with a positive mindset, the first 10 days I kept waking up going, really? Like, is this okay? Let me wrap my brain around this. I have to process this. And my husband would say, are you feeling anxious? I'm like, it's not anxiety. I can't wrap my brain around it. So like for you, I'm sure there have been times where you just can't wrap your brain around how long you've been in the position that you've been in.
I'm gonna give you a great example about, and it's wound specific because this is very recent. As you know, and as many people know, I called it my little Pico pack. I had a wound vac on that. The object of that is to, for I'm not going to say everybody, and in my case it wasn't. It's to close the wound, to get the bad materials out and close the wound. In my case, and I'm going to preface this by saying, don't worry, people, this was a good thing, although I didn't know it at the time. It actually did just the opposite. I'm going to tell you why. The wound is open. It's open a little bit wider than it was before. It's only a centimeter open when you think about it. If you can see, I mean, a centimeter is only that much, but it had been open only a millimeter, which is 1/10 of a centimeter. But here is the reason that we are discovering why, and this is this is why wound care is so tricky. I have been declared healed before. The wound has been declared healed, and it reopens. We are realizing that it is closing over on the top, but it needs to heal from the inside. So the fact that it is open now, not only is it open, but the Pico back did exactly what it was supposed to do for me. It has made the skin healthier. It's nice pink, even though it's open, it's nice pink, healthy skin. So I have to look at, I'm freaking out at the numbers. It's open, last week it was open, or 2 weeks ago it was open a millimeter, now it's open a centimeter. And that freaks you out when you hear it. And the doctor said, don't pay attention to the measurements. It's nice, pink, healthy skin. Well, he could say that took a couple days for that to sink in for me before I could broadcast it and tell everybody, because I had to figure out how I was going to say it positively because I was pissed. So it didn't work the way for me, the way it works for other people, but it did work for me in the way that I needed it to. So you have to frame it that way. So,
and that's, I think, a big part of it. I think, something that I've preached, and I wanted to preface this at the beginning and I forgot, but it's so important to understand that for so many people, I would like to say, thank God right now, the majority of people that are watching this are not sick, have not been infected. They very well may know someone that's sick. I know of a number of people right now that are sick, that have, on a wide scale of range. Some are not in great shape and some are at home in bed and just feeling like crap. But what we're discussing, our new norm, our perspective is going to work for the majority of people that are going to watch this. But there are so many people whose lives are not slowing down. They're not home. The purpose of Strong as a Mother, or Stronger Than a Mother, is to show that you've done harder, where this is the hardest thing, where they are going to lose a loved one, where they are a healthcare worker and they're going on the front lines, where they are a teacher, and perhaps academically, career-wise, this might have been the hardest thing, but it will not probably be the hardest thing that they've experienced in their life. Right. So there's a large number of people that are watching. So I want to preface this with people understanding that, the perspective we're coming to it with are going to work for the majority, but I do recognize that there are a large number of people who are really in serious crisis right now.
And we can bring that around, because we can just say, put this in perspective in terms of that. Yes, we're inconvenienced, and but think about the people that are on the front lines that are maybe more compromised because they're on the front lines. We can deal with this. We can do, and we can also support them by while we're at home and we need something to do, sending them, making the masks, sending the masks, or any other efforts that you may have heard to support the people on the front lines. That's
like my friend Donna's watching right now,
Mhm.
and her mom is one of those people. She's in a vent tent in ICU right now with this virus. And, the best thing I can do for Donna, and really the best thing she can do since she can't see her mom, is pray.
Right. Yep.
But, my purpose in saying that, and the reason why I prefaced it, is because I think, you mentioned this earlier, and I've always believed this, that that there's a gift in every challenge, that every challenge we experience is just an experience that's designed divinely for us. And the key word is for. Right? So perhaps you needed some extra time to really regenerate what it was that you needed to in your life to slow things down. I think a lot of people are finding that there's a huge gift in the slowdown right now of having to be locked in with people, and what that looks like. But I also recognize that for some people, this is the worst of the worst, especially those children who are stuck at home right now, who really need the meals, who really need the safety of the school, and for people in domestic violence situations who really being perhaps stuck at home is not a good thing. So when I say things are rigged in people's favor, and I say that there's a gift in every challenge, I am very aware that there are a number of circumstances in which this is really,
and it's such a great point, because we have to think about, it's kind of forcing us to think about what is everybody going through, and that if that gets us, that's, if we think about it that way, that goes a long way of us getting us out of our own way of being in the doldrums about it. So
yeah.
Yeah.
This is so not about us.
Yeah.
Let's get to some of the questions. So I had a good question from Maria. Maria's struggling. She has one kid at home who's a high schooler. She's an entrepreneur. She owns her own business. She's used to going out. Her husband's in construction. He's used to going out. Now everybody is home. And so her question is how do you keep a routine? She feels like, probably the way most of us do when this first happened, it was like, oh, a mini vacation. And then the next thing you know, you're like, holy crap, if I don't have like some sort of routine and some sort of sense of normalcy, I could go crazy, because this could go on for quite some time.
Yeah.
So how do you keep a routine? What did that look like? And did you start out that way when you found out you were going to be on bed rest?
We did, because we knew we were going to have to keep a routine, because my mom is my primary caregiver, because there are certain things I'm still not going to be able to do for myself because it requires more sitting. So she, it's literally, and I will be quite honest with you, it's bathing, bathroom, the whole, getting dressed, the whole schlemiel.
Yeah, I know.
So we have a routine in the morning where I get up before everybody else. I'm literally up at 5 or 6 a.m. So I have put my computer next to me, so I can jump on the computer and use that time to work before she gets up, gets me, gets herself dressed, takes a shower, and gets me ready for the day. So that's where being flexible, keeping to a schedule, but being flexible is key to this, because sometimes, there are some times where she does, if we have to go to the doctor, she does get me ready early, and then I work later in the day. Where it's a day we don't have to go to the doctor, I work early, and then she gets me ready later. So it's a really set your schedule, but be flexible about it, because it changes on a daily basis.
I felt that way at the very beginning, because our district made the announcement on a Friday that we would have 2 weeks off. So it's not uncommon for me on the weekends to like not shower, like not do my hair, just throw it into a top knot, whatever. And that's usually because I'm on the go during the week. And so the weekends I kind of just like chill out.
Mhm.
Well, I did that the weekend going into all of this, but then I found myself like Monday, Tuesday still doing the same thing. And I was like, oh my God, if I do not go back to my normal routine, and I
Mhm.
said this to my husband, if I do not shower, if I do not, you know, brush my hair, brush my teeth, because it won't matter because I'm not seeing anybody, if I don't wash my face,
Mhm.
I'm going to feel down. I'm going to feel not my best self. I'm almost going to feel like I treat the way I treat myself when I'm sick,
Mhm.
right? Because we just kind of let everything go.
Mhm.
And I think mentally, if you act that way, it will manifest that way.
Right.
So I make sure that on most days, I'm getting up, I'm working out, I'm showering, I'm putting on a little mascara because I love the way that feels and looks. And I'm just up. Even if I'm never going to see anybody, what I've decided is what that looks like is I'm showing up for myself,
Mhm.
because if I can show up for myself, I can show up for the other people in my family.
Mhm.
I know what it looks like for me when I don't show up for myself. I'm kind of dragging around, I'm in my pajamas, like I just never get the full energy that I have within myself.
Mhm.
And I feel like more now than ever, I need that energy. I find myself exhausted by 7 o'clock. And
Right.
my son is saying, I don't understand why you're tired. What have you done all day? And I'm like, I have no idea.
Mhm.
But I think it's emotional exhaustion.
Right. Yeah.
I have a question for you. It was not one that was brought in, it's one for myself. I was reading a New York Times article this morning. No, was it the New York Times? No, I'm sorry. It was the Harvard Business Review.
Okay.
So just a side note, like a little tip and trick for people, I do not have the news on during the day in my house.
Mm-mm.
My mother is a 24/7 hour news person. It's making her crazy. I can't take it. I watch maybe 30 minutes in the morning, if that at all. And I try to watch like Lester Holt for 30 minutes at night. That's how I get my news.
Mhm.
Another way that I get my news is in the mornings. I get like kind of like a daily skim, but it's called the call. I think it's called the wake up call, and it's from Katie Couric,
Mhm.
and she just curates what you need to know. So I was reading through that this morning, and there was a journal entry in the Harvard Business Review that she had put in there. And they had reached out to David Kessler. Do you know who David Kessler is?
Mhm.
Okay, so for people who don't know who David Kessler is, he's an expert on death and dying, and he works with people that are in the process of dying from a therapeutic standpoint. And he was saying in this article that a lot of people are grieving right now, like that emotional exhaustion. That's grief. And he said there's two different kinds of grief. It's grief of normalcy,
Mhm.
and then there was another word he used, but it was like the grief of like not knowing how to prepare or what's going to come next.
Right.
So do you feel that when you went through what you went through at the very beginning, or maybe you still experience this now, do you feel that you had to grieve?
Um, I don't know if I would call it maybe. Um, that's such a strong word because if we think of it as a death, and it was I think
Well, and I think he was saying it's the death of the life that you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
even if it's temporary.
Because literally now I'm still actually dealing with it, to be honest, because um, I have been told, even though I think my brain is working of how can I buck the system. Um, so maybe that's part of my grief process. Maybe I'm still in denial. Um,
Mm.
I I have been told that I should not, once I am even healed, should not be sitting more than 8 to 10 hours a day total, uh,
Ever?
ever, until technology and medicine comes up with something better.
Mm.
So that's what I'm hoping for, because for a person, how am I going to travel? How,
I was like, okay, what does that look like if she wants to go to California? That's an hour in the car. Then you're sitting for 2 hours waiting to get on the plane. Then it's the plane. Like, how do you do that?
yeah, I am okay. And again, putting my entire life out there. Here we go. And this is very ready for. I'm going to Brene Brown the heck out of myself. You ready? I'm going to be 53 this year. I have been putting off dating for a very, very long time. I was just happy with my friends and everything, and I just something about it wasn't. And what is that going to look like for me now? Because now I'm like, I had just been starting to think about that again before this happened, and I would like to find somebody in my life. What does that look like for me now? Will this happen? And then the other, Inspire Girl side of me goes, of course it'll happen. You'll just, you figured out everything else. You're going to figure this out too. So, but that is one of the things that has gotten me, as we talked about last time, I have really high highs and really low lows. If I go down that rabbit hole, I go, crap.
Right. And I think everybody's feeling that way right now. I think that's probably a part of the reason why everybody's so exhausted. I'm getting this message from a lot of people. By 7 o'clock, they're exhausted because I think they're running on this fume of hope and
Stace, your audio just went for me. Your audio just went for me. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. What I was saying was, I think that people are they're working on hope and faith, and they're spending a lot of time in that space, which actually takes a lot of energy and thought to be purposefully in hope all the time. But then they start to go down the rabbit hole, even if it's just for a minute or two. And then they have to find a way to bring themselves out. And I think there's a mental exhaustion that comes with that. And then you're also trying to do it, at least in my personal case, at home for my family.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
I'm doing this. I'm doing the same thing exactly here with my family, because I am the positive person in the household. Let's put trying to point on it. So yeah, not that everybody's negative, but they can go down the rabbit hole faster than I can. So
I think anybody can, right?
So yeah. So I know if I let myself, I can go down the rabbit hole. So I'm extra careful to not stay in that place. Yes, you have to have your grieving process, but you don't have to stay there. It all rounds back to not dwelling on what I can't do, but what can I do?
So here's another question that came in. How do you maintain an abundance mentality during a time of scarcity?
Okay, and I am currently working on that, because I'm an entrepreneur, I'm just like you, and I basically have 2 businesses. I have my speaking and I have my web and print design. Well, both of those are now 2 things that I can do online, because we've got Zoom, so I can do my workshops online. So I've set that up, and we're doing one tonight. We'll talk about it at the end of the program.
Can't wait.
But the website, people had started to back away immediately. Projects that had already agreed to do, websites that already agreed to do, and they got scared immediately. Oh, I may not have any income coming in. I better pull everything that I can. And they're going to. And
that's a scarcity mindset.
Exactly. They're going to pull everything first. And I'll use website as an example. This is the time to have an online presence. So you really can't have a better time. Well, you can, but right now there's no better time that I can think of to strengthen your online presence, whether it be website or social media. And that's where I can help people. So that's the message I'm trying to get out there right now. And I do have those scary days, because immediately, I literally within the first week had three major projects canceled, which is a humongous part of my income. So am I scared right now? I was at the beginning, but as one of my favorite inspirational people, Cheryl Richardson, said, things just happen when you take action. So I took action. I'm redoing my website. I'm actually taking my Operation Inspiration website and figuring out how I can do a resource section to help people. So that's in the works right now. And those kind of things will exhibit my skill set. So the more I put that out there, the jobs will come in. And
so do you feel like the answer to that then is finding the things you can do?
Right. Yeah.
When people are going down the mindset of, I can't do.
Yeah. When those 3 people canceled, I didn't go crazy on them because I knew I've had enough, I've self-trained myself enough to know that's not going to solve anything. So I said, no, you need to do what's right for you. But then I had to move forward and not dwell on that. So I thought about, okay, those 3 people are not going to do their project. How can I get other business?
And I think that's so relevant right now because I think a lot of the people that are going to be watching this, they do have home-based businesses, whether it's a network marketing business or I have a lot of friends that are consulting. I have a lot of connections and contacts and friends who are in the event space where they actually can't take their work virtual per se.
Right.
They're event designers, they're florists, they're photographers, where you can't do your work. It's an art. You can't do it virtually. You have to be in that space. And I think that they're really struggling with how to adjust. So people are going to a scarcity mindset of focusing on the things that they're prohibited from doing.
Right.
Versus the thing that they can. And I had gone to a really interesting workshop, a lunch workshop at Heartworks not too long ago. And I have here on my window a little quote, and it says, rejection is a push towards something better for you.
Yes. Oh, I love that.
Isn't that great?
Was that a Meganism?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I knew it.
Yep. Rejection is a push towards something better for you. And I think you could even just reword it. I mean, people are not rejecting you right now because of something that you did. They are shifting gears because of a form of scarcity, right? And perhaps that will allow you something better. Gets you more creative. It gets your messaging out there a little different to people during such a unique time.
And circling back to Operation Inspiration, and that's how I can marry the 2 businesses, because I can talk about this in my workshop and get people out of that scarcity mindset, because we're going to do a lot of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Why don't you share with people the workshop that we have tonight?
Okay, so tonight at 7 p.m. on my Zoom channel, and you can sign up. We can send out the link.
We'll put it in the comments, right?
We'll put it in the comments. 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. We're going to do a workshop of, and I'm calling it Thriving Through Coronation. So that we're going to have people come in and state what their fears and or needs are, and what happens. And you can attest to this in the workshop when somebody said, you know what, here's the issue I'm having right now. Here's what I need. It happens. I'm going to say 100% of the time at this point. Somebody says, I know somebody, I can help you with that, or I know somebody that can. You've watched it happen. It's amazing. And the more that we talk about what we're going through and what we may need to get through this, the more people are going to help you. My big message is don't clam up when you're in that scarcity. Talk about it.
Absolutely. And I think, I always find that the deepest human connections come from a common struggle.
Right.
And the unique situation about this is that it literally is the global common struggle.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody that's not affected worldwide. So it really opens up the opportunity, getting back to what we discussed earlier at the very beginning about using social media. I sent out 50 different messages to people that literally said, I'm committing to myself to reach out to 50 different people that I don't know today, just to check in on them and ask them how they're feeling. How are you feeling? This is the human common experience. And if people find that weird, it's okay. For me, I'm not really worried about their opinion, but you never know who you're going to hit up that's going to feel like, oh my God, I just needed to hear from somebody else today. It can make the biggest difference.
And by the way, if that's weird, I am so happy to be in weird land with you.
I mean, people will think that's weird, but you know what? I feel strongly that the human connection is the most important thing. And I fear I really worry about the people who live alone, who don't have pets or children or spouses. And maybe for some of them, this is like a paradise. It's like, it could be really like an introvert's paradise. But I do worry about people who maybe are alone, who are not super introverted, where they have found themselves very physically distanced. And my hope is to close that social distance gap by reaching out.
Yeah. My aunt is one of those people. She is 89 years old, and as of my uncle passed away last year, and so she is literally living on her own in Basking Ridge for the very first time in her life. So I call her every day to make sure, because people are helping her get the mail and leaving things at the door so she's not compromised. But she's got no human contact right now. So,
yeah. So tough.
Yeah.
Listen, I want to end this with a fast five. Okay.
Yes.
We did not do this last time, and I didn't tell you I was going to do it this
I
time.
love the fast five. I know what this is. So okay.
Okay. So fast five, I'm going to ask you 5 different questions. You have to say the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
Favorite food?
Cheese.
Oh, and you're not supposed to have it, right?
No, I can't. Cheese is a protein.
Okay.
You can have cheese.
Kind of one of my favorites too.
Yeah.
I just wonder if vodka would have been a good answer too. And like for me. But anyway.
I'm
okay.
not. Yeah. Cheese for me.
Favorite.
Wait, I'm losing you again. Favorite. Hold on, you're frozen for me. Hold on.
Cheese for you. Okay. Favorite author.
Favorite author, Brene Brown.
Author.
Well, she is an author.
How's that?
Brene Brown.
Do you have a verse?
I'm like hearing every other word. We'll figure this out. Hold on.
Yep. Do you have a favorite book from Brene Brown?
All of them. Rising Strong right now.
Okay. Favorite Netflix?
Oh, favorite Netflix. Somebody Feed Phil. Phil Rosenthal, really quick.
I haven't seen that one.
Phil Rosenthal, who created Everybody Loves Raymond, he's a foodie. It took him 10 years to create the show. He did not give up on this dream. He goes around the country and he visits different places, restaurants, any place that makes food. So this is a good thing to watch. There's 3 seasons of it right now. They have a fourth one in the works that I think they'll be able to show to give that people the experience of being out there without being out there right now.
I love that. I've never heard of that one.
Watch travel shows.
I'm going to watch that.
It's a food show. It's great.
Favorite curse word?
Fuck.
And
you know what? And if there were children watching, I apologize. But and somebody said that before. We were in a big meeting before, and I won't say who it was, but they swore. And the moderator of the meeting said, "If you have 4-year-olds in the room, be careful."
Seriously, they're not going to. I'm scheduled to speak in a couple of weeks. I'm going to have to remember that.
I have lots of other. I have really. I mean, the F word is the basis of all of my swear words, but I can. Okay, I'm going to tell you a really quick story. Remember Inside the Actor Studio with James Lipton?
Yeah.
He says, okay, what's your favorite curse word?
Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. holds the record for a 7-syllable curse word because he strung a bunch of them together. I have an 8 one. If I ever got a chance to answer that question, I would say, Robert Downey Jr., I have you, because I have an 8-syllable one.
I miss Lipton. And favorite mantra?
Favorite mantra? I have so many. But it's been, I am healthy. I am healthy because I put things. At the beginning, it was in fact my dear friend Jennifer Paragano, who has a beautiful singing voice. You've met her at the work. She wrote a song for me at the beginning of this, and we called it "We Are Healing." But that puts it in process. I am now saying I am healthy. I'm putting it in the present tense, not the future tense. And I do that with everything. I had a workshop at one time called, there's an expression, I can and I will. I say I can and I am. Because if I say I will, I may not do it. So I'm putting it in, I can do it and I am doing it.
I love you. That's just like the best way to end this. So that's it. I gave you my fast 5. This was great.
This was awesome. Who do you have? Can you say who you have on next week? Because I can't wait.
I do. So next week, I have a gal named Allison Fusella. And Allison and I are still working out what the agenda is going to be, but it's either going to be about neurolinguistic programming and how the words that you use to describe a situation manifest into how you're experiencing it.
Okay, great. I cannot wait.
Or we're going to talk about something she specializes in, which is called heart math, which is really unique. Connie, hypnotherapy, and how to work. 15th, I've got the gratitude psychologist, Peggy DeLong, who I love, and she is going to share with us 5 ways to stay grateful in 5 minutes during troubling times. So I think that that's going to be awesome.
Awesome lineup. Thank you for letting me be your first guest and for letting me do 2 conversations, because
it was awesome.
It was great. All right.
Thank you so much.
I want to say love it. We love everybody, and join us both on Facebook Live. We're doing great things.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks so much, Andrea.
Bye. Thanks, Stace.
Okay, bye.